how's it going, guys? Welcome back to October Reads, and today we have one of my favorite current ongoing titles from Image, and we're going to be looking at Ice Cream Man Issue 1. So right now, Ice Cream Man has ran up to about 20 issues or so, and it is one of my favorite ongoing series going right now. So I kind of figured I'd use this series as an opportunity to figure out if the first issue was a great standalone issue or the rest of the reason to read the series is in later issues. So this is by W. Maxwell Prince and Martin Mazzaro, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I could be wrong on that. But I just remember when I read this, I think I read the first 4 or 5 issues in a row, and you kind of get the identity after you read about 4 or 5 issues in a row that this is an anthology style series, and your crypt keeper of sorts is basically the Ice Cream Man. He's not necessarily the star of each and every story. He does have some stories where he's the focal point, but most of the time he's kind of like just that sinister background character who's just enjoying the anguish of the actual character that's centralized in this main issue. So I figured I'd just go ahead and read this and see how does it hold up on its own. Can the single first issue stand on its own 2 legs? So I figured I'd go ahead and find out. So reading this, I think I'm happy to report that this is a pretty good single standalone issue. Probably my biggest complaint would be the fact that, like, usually with your Image number 1s, they gotta be a pretty good book in establishing the identity of what you're going to read down the line. And they kind of at least do that with the Ice Cream Man character, but they really give you minimal to no indication that this is going to be an anthology-based series. So the main characters you encounter in this, at first I was a little surprised you don't see them in issue 2 and up, basically, as your main characters, more or less. So we'll get into the main story of this. So it starts off like any other basic suburb neighborhood around the block on the weekend. You see an ice cream truck. You see families lined up trying to get their ice cream cones and popsicles and so on and so forth. And you see the husky little kid standing in the line by himself. He has no parents, and he goes, "I need a chocolate ice cream cone, 2 scoops." And the Ice Cream Man, with his, fun, wholesome look, yet these sinister green eyes and this creepy smile, he goes, "Hey, where are your parents?" And he's just like, "I'm a big boy. I don't need any parents. I need an ice cream cone with 2 scoops." So you slowly see this kid go home. Looks like an average walk in the neighborhood, but what really makes it creepy, besides, the effects of the sun going down in the background, is as the kid is going home, there's a narration that's talking about the world's most poisonous spider. So that should give you some clue or indication about what the story to come is going to be in this. So the kid gets home. He has to put a clothespin on his nose when he enters his house, so there's something that's about to be pretty bad once you turn the next page. So you turn the next page, and he enters this house. Like, there's just trash everywhere. He has to wear the clothespin, and the first thing to greet him once he comes into the house is his friend. He has this friend that's a spider. So just right next to the door. He has a spider that doesn't like adults, basically. So you can kind of see where the story's going from there. As the kid kind of talks to himself and the narration's talking about the world's most dangerous spider, he does the whole thing like, "Hey, Mom, Dad, I'm home." I'm just like, "Oh, wait, don't get up." And he's just like talking to himself and kind of joking to himself. So you find out his parents are dead. They're in the kitchen. They're basically just skeleton corpses at this point. They've been rotting for weeks. And then you cut to our other main character, she's a police detective, mid-30s, doesn't really care too much for her job, and the narration even lets you know about this and talks more about bugs eating you from the inside and all that stuff. So there's a lot of overlaying crazy narration in these Ice Cream Man books, and this is definitely a good example of what's to come in the other Ice Cream Man issues, where you just see the narrator, which assumably is the Ice Cream Man, tell you about bugs eating you from the inside and just suffering and all that stuff. There's even a part later down the line where the police detective's driving around with her partner, and the partner says something about bugs, and she's like, "What did you say?" And then he's talking about his pension plan. So just another one of those like subliminal messages that they put in there just to mess with you, basically. So of course, being a police detective, she has to go research these missing parents of this kid, which they just happen to be McAllister. Don't know if he's related to Kevin McAllister, who had also a missing family, aka Home Alone. But yeah, you get to see that whole story play out. They go to the house, find the dead parents, and the partner gets bit by the spider, of course, and that's when the kid gets home, sees the detectives there. He doesn't want a spider hurt, so he grabs a spider, runs off to the woods. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, there's this whole subplot with this crazy cat lady who has this werewolf creature who is sucking the bones and the skin off of her cats. Yeah, that happens, so they think she's crazy. You kind of see her once and don't think too much of it. So back to the kid running into the woods and the detective chasing after her, or chasing after the kid. So the kid goes into the woods, and all of a sudden there's a werewolf in the book, out of the blue, who coincidentally is wearing tattered ice cream man clothes with green eyes. The spider defends him. The werewolf at least gets an attack in on the kid and the detective, and he escapes before the poison kills him, basically. And my favorite part of this book is where the detective finally asks the name of the kid. The kid answers, and she just turns to the kid while they're both laying on the ground, and she just goes, "F you, kid." And that's kind of like the last time you see them interact. So the kid gets put in the foster home, and the detective's kind of questioning, the other people on the scene, the other cops that show up. And she's asking, like, all right, do we at least, attain the spider, so we can look at it and figure out everything about it? And he's like, oh, didn't you hear we couldn't find the spider? So, of course, the closing scene is the spider just kind of chilling, walking down the street. And it crawls up the ice cream man's leg. And he's talking about, how you need all these flavors of ice cream. He turns the spider into an ice cream cone. And that is your closing splash panel. So, once again, I absolutely love this series. I can't recommend it enough. Just the weird, cheery disposition of the colorful art combined with the chilling insanity of what's actually going on in the storyline. And not to mention the fact that these storylines just get more crazy. There's one that takes place in space, on a space station with a guy by himself. The most recent issue I just read, the ice cream man kills the father of a family, then adopts the rest of his family as his own and forces them to dress up as little ice cream kids and ice cream wife, and it's one of the most chilling issues of the book I've ever read. So I think overall I'm just going to go ahead and give this a 5 out of 5. I highly recommend Ice Cream Man if you're looking for that new type of horror book that kind of has that old anthology feel, but has that new Image Comics flair to it. So I highly recommend hopping on Ice Cream Man. So thank you guys once again for checking out October Reads.